Today we are going to talk about how we can connect using a Java program to database communication, which is called the DB, database communication, how we are going to communicate. If you see here, java.sql package, Java has come up. We talked about java.lag, java.util, java.io packages. So today we are talking about Java x.sql. You see that X, whenever there is a X, it means that this package is totally written in Java. When it is a java.util java.io means that they in underlying structure could be in a different programming language. They might have used it, C++ or some other language. But Java x.sql is an advanced programming concept of the Java. So they have used the Java language to develop these packages and classes. The Java SQL package mainly targeted, this is again a framework. We talked about collection framework as a part of the utility. We talked about streaming framework with java.io stream framework where we communicate with the streams. Now, java.sql package, mainly we're targeting and communicating with all the databases. How a Java program can communicate with databases. Like the way we communicated with the text files and keyboards, now most of the applications need a database, which is mandatory because to store all your data. Our Java program has to communicate with the databases. So JDBC driver is a part of a SQL package that will help you to connect it to database and execute SQL queries to insert a data or to update a data or to delete a data or to fetch the data from the database. As you are seeing your Gmail, when you are click on inbox, you are getting a lot of emails. That emails, if you open email, you see the subject, body, email address, to list and CC list. The data, what you are seeing on your computer when logging to Gmail, the data is coming from a databases. It means that your application of Gmail is underneath communicating with the database and fetching this data. So how you as a programmer, how you need to develop a JDBC communications. So there are, in order to connect to the databases on high level, there are 4 drivers to communicate. Driver is a kind of a mechanism which can understand the database and which can understand the Java program also. Like the way we both are talking in English language, where you can understand English, I can understand English. The similar way, in order to communicate with databases, because Java is a different programming language, database is a different programming. It has developed a different program. Now we need to communicate between Java program to database. We need to have a common language that need to talk each other. That is the reason they have built up these drivers. Drivers is kind of a programs they have developed so that it can understand Java code and it can understand the database side also in a very simple terminology. There are 4 types of driver. You can remember, easy to remember is type 1, type 2, type 3, and type 4 drivers. So the general terminology they use, type 1 is JDBC, ODBC bits driver. Whenever you install Java, it will come with default this driver. Second is the native API driver, a partially a Java driver. It is may not be a completely developed in Java, this driver. And third one is the type 3 driver. We call it the network protocol driver, developed using Java. This is completely developed using Java. The driver has been developed using Java, but still you need to do some kind of little bit of configuration at the database side to work efficiently. Last one is a type 4 driver, which is a thin driver, developed using Java, and it is the most popular driver which being used in the industry. Any application, we have been using it in the enterprise level, a large application. Everyone uses a type 4 driver, which is the thin driver. Whenever you buy a database like Oracle, SQL Server, these drivers will come along with them so that Java program can communicate by loading these drivers. Then you can communicate with Oracle database, SQL Server database, and Postgres database. There are hundreds of databases in the market. Every driver, every database works different way. So these drivers need to be developed for each database specific needs. Oracle has a thin driver, and a SQL Server also have a different thin driver, and Postgres Server also have a different thin drivers. They develop the drivers independently for their own databases. We'll talk about the drivers more and more in today's class, and also we talk about how this architecture of JDBC database communication is happening. Today we'll talk about those information. If you see here, if you see the Java architecture of JDBC communication, as you can see that we have developed a lot of Java classes so far. Java application we have developed, and we have done not related to any JDBC programming on database communication. We have developed our classes to execute some of our functionality, like communicating with the files, and developed classes to test our collections. We have done like that. We have not discussed about how we need to communicate outside of the Java program to communicate to database. If you see here, Java application, with a part of Java application, we'll import a java.sql packages. This java.sql package has a JDBC APIs. API means application programming interface. And internally, they have a communicate with JDBC driver manager API. Driver manager is a manager who can manage the drivers, and it can communicate with the Oracle database, SQL Server database, Postgres database. There are a lot of databases in the market. In order to communicate, you need to have a native JDBC drivers again. It means that Oracle has a native JDBC driver. It can understand only Oracle database, how to communicate. And SQL Server has their own native JDBC driver. It can understand only the SQL Server, how to communicate with SQL Server. And Postgres database has their own native driver. If please mute if you're not talking. If you see here, Java application, JDBC API is in a very top level. It don't even know which database you are communicating, because it is in a very, very abstract level, very on the high abstract level.
No, they know. JDBC API helps to execute SQL statements and return the data from database. It helps to execute the SQL statements.
As you see that JDBC driver, we are writing the code at a very, very top level. It means that JDBC driver don't even know exactly what database you are communicating. The way you communicate with Oracle database, the way you communicate with SQL Server, the way you communicate with Postgres database, all are equal. You write the code irrespective of which database you are communicating. So driver knows when request is coming from Java application to JDBC API and hand it out to the driver manager. Driver manager knows whether you are communicating with which database, and it loads the respective driver and send the request to the, if you are communicating Oracle database, it send the request to Oracle database and translate and fetch the data back and gives to JDBC API, and that gives to the Java application. So as a Java application, you are totally isolated which database you are communicating. Means you write a program irrespective of which database you are communicating in the same way, so that application is having a complete and isolation from these native JDBC drivers. Like the way you talk, you understand only English, but you don't understand other languages. And you might have some kind of translator who can speak both languages. You always understanding with the talking and understanding in English language. There is a translator who can understand your language and also other language. He does the work for you. Something same concept here. So the driver manager and native driver only speaks the Oracle database, how to connect, SQL Server, how to connect, and Postgres. Each database have their own native drivers again. The driver manager can consolidate which driver to use to communicate with which database, and JDBC API on top of it, which can understand, no need to understand the internals, it can understand, hey, I want to get a employee details from this employee table. You can issue a command from the JDBC API. So you get the data. That's how on a high level, the architecture of JDBC communication from Java application has been, it will work like this. As I mentioned that Java application, we talked about what is Java application. And JDBC API, it helps to execute the SQL statements to fetch the data, return the data from the database, or to insert the data, delete the data, or update data. Driver manages manages the drivers, which driver to invoke when based on certain conditions. And drivers are native to communicate with databases. So as I mentioned that we have a 4 types of driver, type 1, type 2, type 3, type 4. We talked about it. So type 1 driver, the type 1 driver is the way the type 1 driver works in the high level is like this. So we have a Java application, and from the Java application, it will use the JDBC, ODBC bits. JDBC means Java database connectivity. ODBC means object database connectivity. And it connects to the ODBC driver again. And ODBC driver connected to the native database libraries to respective databases. Here I have not mentioned whether it is an Oracle database or SQL Server database or Postgres database. So every database have their own native DB libraries. Means Java application connect with the JDBC, ODBC driver that internally connect with all of these things to communicate with database. This is the default driver whenever you install the Java. JDK, this driver will come along with you. So you don't need a special installation is needed to use this driver. It is there in your JDBC, in your JDK installation, which you have done in your computer currently. And work with any database. It doesn't no need to worry about which database you need to connect. It will work with any database without any issues. So there are some disadvantages. This database JDBC driver is not a good for the large scale application. It is good for small scale, very, very small scale applications. And the performance of this driver is not that great for small queries, small size of data to insert, delete, fetch the data from database is fine. But you are working with enterprise level where the performance is very much important and you need to load a lot of data. This driver is not at all a good. No one uses this driver in a real application production environment. So this is like, for understanding purpose, for any small cases, we can use this driver, but not that much. If you are writing small program in your computer and you want to test it out, the JDBC communication, it is well good, but not for the real applications. The second one is the type 2 driver. The type 2 driver, it has a similar kind of a setup, but the type 2 driver has been communicating with the native API drivers. The native API drivers can communicate with the native DB libraries and database. So type 2 driver is better than type 1 driver, the good performance on type 1 driver. Work with any database as long as ODBC installation has been done. And again, the communication is slow. It does not suit for the large application. Almost type 1, type 2, generally no one will use it for the real production environments. The type 3 driver, which is the good performance and type 1, type 2 driver, it is written in Java, this driver. And this driver whenever you install this driver, we need some kind of a infrastructure configuration is needed at the database level. So that way we can communicate with the Java application. It's not a much middleware configuration, some amount of middleware communication is needed. The performance of this driver is better than type 1, type 2, and some application will use this driver, but not all application will use this driver. Because again, for the enterprise levels, this driver is not that great. It case to case, some specific needs we use this driver. The last driver, which is where every application will use this driver. They simplified this driver very much. All they need to use, right? They have a Java thin driver, and as long as you install this thin driver for any database, it will work. So this is very good performance wise, very good, and written is completely in Java. And again, if you think about disadvantages, this driver also need each database, it has their own thin driver. Whenever you install a database in your computer, these drivers will come along with you. And this is how, whatever the application we have used so far in the production environment, we always go with this thin driver. So very simple to installation, as well as communication is more efficient, and it can read and load lot of data very quick. And all the application which you are using in production, you remember that we need to go for the thin driver. And it has been enhancing every day. The database enhance, this driver is also keep enhancing every day. So you are getting a new versions of these databases in the day-to-day. So if you see here, So if you see that I just type randomly, so in order to install JDBC, JDBC 10 driver, JDBC 8. This is the driver. Drivers means that is in a kind of a jar file which has in a lot of Java classes, combination of Java classes. So whenever you want to install a driver, you need to copy a jar file and you need to store it in your database, in your Java code also. So do not think like, driver is a very big thing, and all you need to do is you need to download a Java jar file and configure it in your computer. We'll go through that process as as you move forward. So next topic which I want to talk about is the installation of this PostgreSQL. I want you to everyone, can you go through this link and install this database? I will paste this link also in the chat window so that you people can so I will give some time. Click this link and download this version 16.4, 16.3 and unzip this zip file and create a folder, C, software, PostgreSDB, and copy the download zip file and install the zip file, extract the zip file and keep it like that in your computer. Then we'll talk about the next. I will give like, time of 15 to 20 minutes to complete this task. I'm keeping mute, just keep working on this task.